today in Moocake's Kitchen making sugar cookies. I'm doing these as gifts for some family friends. And I love making sugar cookies, but I hate the mess of sugar cookies. So I have worked out a way of doing them that makes the mess minimal and actually speeds up the process quite a bit. I wanted to show you that today. So what I'm starting with is an already mixed dough. I have punched it together here in the bowl so it's easier to deal with. I don't want it to be super crumbly, so I've already sort of got it together as a ball. So typically at this point, you would refrigerate your dough, bring it back out, you'd get your flour, you'd sprinkle it all over your counter, and then you'd start trying to roll out your dough. And quite honestly, I just don't like the mess. My husband would laugh if he heard me say that because our kitchen is always a mess. But I really do try to minimize the mess. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a Silpat mat, and the only reason I'm using that is to keep my cookie sheet from moving around. Okay, so I have my cookie sheet that I'm going to bake these with, and I have 2 pieces of parchment paper. I have them cut to approximately the size of my cookie sheet. I actually buy pre-cut ones. You can always just roll yours out and cut it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this room temperature ball of dough, and I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to get it shaped here in the middle of the cookie sheet, and then I'm going to actually roll this out. Now, to keep it from sticking, you would either use flour or powdered sugar, but I don't like to mess up the texture of my dough, so I actually use parchment paper. Now, my house is pretty chilly, so this dough is actually pretty firm. I'm going to roll this out. Now, how thick do you roll it out? I always wonder. Well, when I use this technique, I find that if I roll the dough to basically the size of this cookie sheet, it's the perfect thickness for sugar cookies. So that actually takes some of the calculation out of it too. I'm going to roll this dough out and get it going. Now, one of the things you might have happen is that your edges get a little thinner than the middle of your cookie dough. What I do is I just go back and punch my edges up a little bit and then re-roll that to be smooth, and that way I get roughly the same thickness all the way around. One of the things you might have noticed me doing in that portion was every once in a while I take this top part off and then just put it back down. It will get wrinkles in there and make wrinkles in the surface of your dough, and you don't want that because it makes your sugar cookie bake up a little bit unsightly. So just peel that off and then lay it back down and smooth it out again. Okay, so what we have here is an entire batch of cookie dough rolled out to roughly the size, as evenly as I could get it, with the parchment paper. Now, what I'm going to do with this is I actually have a standing freezer. You could also put this in your refrigerator. I'm going to just go stick this whole cookie sheet in my freezer and let it sit for 10 to 20 minutes, and then I'll come back and cut out the shapes. Okay, so my dough has been chilling for about 12 minutes, and it's very firm. If you were using a refrigerator, it really just depends on how firm you want it when you work with it. But this is really, really firm, which is how I like it. I feel like I get crisper edges that way. I'm just going to cut out all of my cookies, and because my dough is so cold, I wouldn't be able to roll it out this cold, but the chilled dough makes really great clean cuts with my cookie cutters. Now, one of the things I do, just because I really like the clean edges, is I actually pick them up if they come up, and I sort of clean the edges around, and then I clean out a spot for them, and I put them back down on the cookie sheet. Okay, so I have my cookies all cut out. You see that I was able to make use of pretty much all of the surface area that I had, and because the dough is so cold, it cuts cleanly and they won't spread that much, so I can put them pretty close together on my cookie sheet. Uh-oh, my little Christmas tree. There we go. I'm gonna bake these off, and then they'll be ready to decorate. Now, Another great thing about this technique is that you can use all of the dough. You don't ever have to get rid of any of it because it's been rolled too many times or it's got too much flour in it. Because as I was cutting the dough, I was putting it on this extra piece of parchment. And now what I'm going to do is just shape this all back into a ball. This is no surprise. But the great thing about this is it doesn't have any extra flour in it, and it's been worked very little at this point. So I'm going to put this back into a ball, roll it back out onto a sheet, and put it back in the freezer to be ready for another batch. So here we have it. We have our batch of sugar cookies that we did not have to spend forever waiting to chill in the refrigerator and roll them out with the messy flour on the counter. They're beautiful, they're perfectly shaped. I don't think that they expanded a bit because they were so cold when they went into the oven. I'm gonna let them cool and put them in my do-it-yourself cookie kits, and these will make great gifts for my family and friends. All right, good luck baking.